good afternoon, good evening. So this is an interactive workshop. We're going to discuss the future of management of technology. Okay, quick some logistics for the session. I'm going to put like the screen when we start to go online, and then the share screen, and then once we are online, I will stop sharing the screen, and then we'll start the session with the activities as we stated earlier. So it's a mix between the whole findings of the whole IAMOT conference 2020, and then we will going to distribute into parallel sessions or parallel breakout rooms, and each team is going to develop something and present it at the end of the day or at the end of the session. So I will give the instructions again once we are on. Okay, so it's a very interactive, and we need you to bring your laptop with you, so because you are going to run a presentation and then to show it to the whole population that we have right now. So get ready. I'm going to put the screen on, and then after this we will start the session immediately. Habiba, are you there? If you can hear me, then just once you see the screen, start broadcasting and give me the signal whenever you are ready. So I ask you kindly to switch off your camera for the moment. Fabio, please, if you can switch off your camera as well as your microphone. Thank you.
ليه كتير قوي كده؟ يعني شوفي بنضيع ربع ساعة من السيشن في الأول. ما تفهمين ايه اللي بيحصل. voice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to day 4 for the 29th International Conference of Management of Technology. Today we have an interactive workshop where we are going to address the future of the management of technology and how this is going to impact and how can see the future coming. So the session is interactive, so will be divided into breakout rooms. So bring your laptop with you because at the end of this the breakout, you're going to doing a presentation based on the redefinition of do we have to think of the MOT. We had a nice presentation from Dr. Anton Bota discussing the new concept of management of technology. And we have been delighted to see Dr. Osman presentation as well, and a group of discussions during Breno, for instance, in the MOT editors panel. So we need to combine all these things together and then we put them in a nutshell. So I'd like to have to welcome Professor Dr. Tariq Khalil, the chairman of the IAMOT 2020 conference and the founder of the IAMOT, to give us some insights about the definitions of management of technology and how this evolved and how we can see the future. And then we'll handle the microphone to Anton to give some insight as well. Dr. Tariq, microphone is yours.
Thank you, Nazar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night for everybody all over the world. We appreciate you being here and thank you for this opportunity. Actually, Anton yesterday raised a number of very important questions during the webinar that he had with a number of the colleagues in here. And some of the questions that he asked, and I'm going to invite him shortly to maybe pose them correctly. He asked if the existing definition of MOT is still valid in the post-digital era. The idea in here of the post-digital era, as he mentioned, it includes digital. So it's digital and whatever comes after digital. So are we still having the same definition that initially came up in 1987? So I'm going to give you the definition 1987 and a few other ones, and then Anton can comment. The second thing, he provided a thought model, and he was asking if that was appropriate. And then the third one said, if really the definition of MOT should be reviewed, who should do it? And I propose that who should do it is IAMOT and its members and its extended family. So I think we should be discussing this and see what is needed in terms of tweaking, if anything is needed, because it might not be needed. My own impression, and let me just ramble in here with you a little bit. I'm going to share the screen. The greatest difficulty that we are having with MOT is people still don't understand technology quite a bit, or at least our concept of what technology is. So let me share a screen in here. And by the way, if we are looking for a definition, the problem is we need people to understand the definition. So it must be a simple definition that the public at large should know and understand. It must be multi-level, as was suggested yesterday by Roland and the colleagues that were on the panel yesterday. It must apply to individuals, to firms, and to society. It must recognize the different types of technologies that we deal with, and it should have a time frame, a recognition of the changing world in terms of time and so on. So one of the things when you talk to people about technology, they always think it's a computer or a machine or something sophisticated or a robot or something like this. The way I usually look at it, and these are some of the simple definitions that I always start even when I'm teaching a class or something, and ask people, what is technology? And they keep answering it in a different ways. Somebody says science, and somebody says productivity, and one says manufacturing, and so on. But in a sense, if we take the broader look at technology, we are talking about the way we do things in general, or the means by which we accomplish objectives. So this is a very simple way of looking at it. But indeed, if we are looking into a more scientific approach, sorry, I have to share my screen. I am sharing my screen here.
Yes, we have the screen.
Yes.
Yes,
It's okay.
we do have your screen, Professor Khalid.
You do have my screen. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Technology is knowledge that is applied in products, processes, tools, methods, systems, and employed in creation of goods or in providing services. That's in general, or in achieving any sort of emission. So it applies to that to a great extent. Now, okay. Let me see what's happening with the screen sharing. Just a second, please. We have a problem with the sharing of screen. Okay. Now, Fred has also given an interesting definition. He looks at it, and I'm glad that Fred is with us today, because Fred has been with me on this management of technology since the beginning, since the early 80s, almost. And he was looking at it as manipulation of nature for human purposes. And that's an interesting definition in here, but it really talks about the physical world to a certain extent. The way I look at technology, it's really various components. It could be hardware, which is structures and machines and so on, and everybody is aware of that. But our good friends in Seattle, Washington, and elsewhere in Microsoft, and our good friend Bill Gates have defined it very clearly later that the importance of software is even more important than hardware. But there's something about technology that is indeed a brainware, how and why we are using technology. So in summing it up, it's a know-how, it's know why, and it's know when. Now, Anton referred to the MOT definition that came in 1987, which actually it was a publication by the National Academy Press. This is the actual publication, if it's not clear. But this is the original report, by the way. There are very few copies of it that exists. And the original report gave an interesting definition, saying that MOT links engineering, science, and management disciplines to plan, develop, and implement technological capabilities to shape and accomplish the strategic and operational objectives of an organization. I think Anton referred to that yesterday very clearly. And the intent in here was that indeed we have an interdisciplinary area that combines natural sciences, social sciences, engineering, business theory, and industrial practice together. But if we look at multi-levels, as was suggested yesterday, there are two levels. There's a macro level, which is essentially setting an implementation of policies to deal with technological development, because as we know, in MOT, we put a great deal of interest in national innovation policies, let's say, and how to deal with these in terms of governments, organizations, and so on. And certainly they impact things such as society, organizations, individuals, and nature. And Fred was just talking about the global warming that's influencing everything with the fires in Washington state and elsewhere. The micro level, which is at the firm level, which is the multi-level situation, now we are talking about planning, development, and implementation of technological capabilities to shape and accomplish strategic and operational objectives. Now, the body of knowledge, we know it comes from science, it comes from engineering, comes from the business knowledge, but MOT now has a body of knowledge for it, and we have recognized the book of knowledge of MOT, and now we can understand exactly where the field is and what it's all about. What was missing in the original definition, in my view, is that the world of Einstein, which is talking about energy and matter, expanded to include information, which led to the third and the fourth industrial revolution. So in whatever definition we provide, we have to add that dimension to it in a certain way. So I am proposing a number of suggested definition, but I would like to have the group in here suggest something. We're talking about a field that applies knowledge from the sciences, engineering and business and information, essentially to achieve objectives and aspirations of individuals, firms, and society. This is more encompassing definition. We can substitute one and say in an increasingly changing global environment, or we can be more specific and say to shape and accomplish the operational strategic objectives. But we have to include the individual, the organizations, and society. So with this, I want to give the floor to Anton to give us his model, and we can start the debate in here and then break out and decide what we want to see in the definition. Thank you. Anton, are you there?
Thank you very much, Tarek, and thanks for the opportunity to bring this into the follow-up discussion. Although the title of this section says the future of IAMOT, we are talking about the future of management of technology as a discipline and not the organization. Obviously, the two are linked very closely. But as we have our discussions this afternoon, we should just make that clear distinction that when we talk about the discipline and how that has morphed and changed, and this is what I tried to bring forward in the discussion on Tuesday. Let me start by sharing my screen and just show you the extracts of what I thought came out of that. I can just find it here. I seem to have so many things open. Hopefully you will see it now. Nazaro, is it clear? Right, thank you.
Yes.
We were 5 people, or there were 4 people on the panel together with me. What I did is I used or misused the opportunity to give a short presentation on the paper that I submitted for this conference, where I argued that it's time to look at in a new way at MOT as a discipline. The other people were Tarek himself, David Bennett, Gita Sudi, and also Roland Ort from Delft. And what came out of there is a combined view of the discussion we have afterwards. I think the MOT objective, and this is something that Tarek said, must be, for the lack of other words, the betterment of human lives. We can talk about well-being. We can talk about wealth creation. Wealth creation is often misunderstood as just referring to money, where well-being is improving your own state in life in terms of where you also move up the Maslow triangle and so on. So whatever we do with technology, and I think it ties in with the definitions and explanations Tarek just showed us, must be for making our lives better and easier. We agreed then as a group that the current definition, the DOC one as Tarek showed it there, needs a revision. It needs a revision for various reasons. First of all, it is largely focused on the enterprise. That was translated into many textbooks and many courses and many debates that it's actually about strategy and the role that technology plays in strategy. He did say the sciences is broader than just the physical, the natural sciences, engineering, and so on. And it does include the humanities, the social sciences. It does include the softer sciences, as we normally call them. And I think the non-prominence of the human being is something that we saw as a weakness in the definition of MOT. Specifically, if we look at that first part, when it's about the betterments of how humans go about their ways and their days. It also has to do with the definitions that Tarek gave and many other, and the one I referred to was the one from Rias van Wyk, where it has to do with the creation of functionality. And that functionality, to a large extent, is a description between what the market wants, what people want, and what the product or a service can give them. Because that need is in the end addressed by a functionality. And we then expanded the notion of a functionality, and we came to what people call now life worlds. And in a life world, what typically happens there is that a product or a service lives and morphs with a human being. It adapts as time goes on. Think of your smartphone. Think of the apps you had 3 years ago, the apps you have now. Think of the functionalities that you still have on a platform that's the same. It's not necessarily each time a new product. So that was a major deficiency in terms of the dynamics of the market. There has been views and opinions that MOT in those days, when it was actually defined and when it started emerging as a discipline, focused very much on manufacturing. That may be true, but I think it kept pace with the automation, with the information part that Tarek just spoke about. But what we said is there's not a time factor in it. And I postulated that one should put a time factor into it and not only talk about markets and products and technologies and the knowledge and the skills behind that, but also the timeliness of these things in the equation. Something that I did not present and that Tarek rightfully remarked on was that it must be very simple to understand. I think the attempts that he has just shown us in terms of draft or possible definitions, these are simple to understand, short, but they should also include certain things and not leave it open for interpretation. Because as the definition is there, we are now speculating on what was actually meant 33 years ago. A term that belongs to David Bennett, he's just waiting for the trademark to come back to him, is societal technological ecosystems. And what we're saying is that you cannot remove the society, the technology, and the environment, the nature. The ecosystem is not only the ecosystem as we know it in nature. It is the ecosystem in terms of our technological holistic world. And this is where technology management will start playing, not start playing, it's already playing a major role in that area. I've mentioned the time factor. Gita came up with a few ideas indicating the social and environmental aspects that we must consider, again referring to the human aspects that we want to ultimately address. The fact that human-centeredness is key, resulting in these life worlds that I spoke about. And then a term that we've used before in our discussions in the board is that our community, specifically the younger community of emerging technology managers, are living in a technology cloud. It is so interacted, it is so integrated that we cannot look at individual technologies anymore. So how do we capture this notion of technology supporting change in life while you're on a cloud where you have access to these technology benefits? Continuous learning is important. It has to do with our book of knowledge. It has to do with how we teach technology management. The fact that it is dynamic and it will remain changing as far as we go with it, because the subject that we describe, which is technology, changes all the time. And there will be a huge shift in capabilities, in need for capability. And that is why it is still a very strong academic discipline. And we had arguments and discussions way back whether management of technology is really a discipline, whether it's a combination of other disciplines. I choose to see it as a discipline when we talk about it. It's mature in a large extent. It has found a place for itself. It has sustained a society or a professional association like IAMOT for a long, long time. We should also look at continuous strategy development at the enterprise level. We have to be careful not only to focus on strategy like we used to do in the 80s, 90s, and even in the beginning of the next century, but it still has to do with strategy in a large sense, depending on whether we want to call it strategy still or whether it's just that environment, that landscape on which you operate and move forward in time that's changing all the time. And that's how people like to see strategy nowadays. Sustainability is important, but everybody speaks about sustainability since the Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainability is limited. It is often interpreted in terms of the triple bottom line, which says it's financial sustainability, environmental sustainability, and it also has to do with societal sustainability. But if we look at, and this is where I learned it looking at biomimetics or biomimicry, is that nature is not only sustainable. If it's sustainable, you can replace it and it will be there again. If it's resilient, it will be strong and it will mitigate and it will fight against being taken away. But if you really look at what nature is, it's about regeneration. If you hurt a tree, you don't pull it out totally, it will grow again. And maybe this is what we have to look at in terms of technology itself, but also the role of technology in the enterprise, that it can regenerate the enterprise. If it has missed an opportunity, if it has been hit by disruption, it can pull it up again and take it forward. Technology should bring trust is something that Gita came up with. Technology is used in so many different environments, from sustaining our lives in intensive care units, to protecting our finances in financial transactions, to communicating with each other in terms of running our multinational investment interests. So if we cannot trust it, and this brings forward the whole thing about security and information security, and personal security that comes with technology. So it must be something that's captured in its essence. And then Roland Oort said, and Tarek referred to that as well, it's a multiple level thing. You have to have a unit of analysis at various levels. You must be able to talk at industry level, like we do roadmaps at industry level, or at company level, or at project level, or at financial level, or at society level. So the thing is, if we take MOT as an entity, it doesn't matter how it looks. You must have a multi-dimensional view of it. If you look from the top, you can get some financial output. If you look from the bottom, you may be able to see some industry-related stuff. Value chains that are changing, supply lines that are changing, logistics that need to be done in a different way. So this is the entity that we're working with, technology. We say we want to manage it as human beings. How do we describe it in terms of defining it? And that makes it difficult. And I think I should stop here. I gave a model. Those of you that were there saw my model, but I don't want to lead the thinking based on my model. I think I want to put these basic principles in that we discussed during our panel session on Tuesday. Let us use this, and then the other thing that, now I'm going to show you the model by default. Let me just get out of here quickly and pose the questions that, oh no, I've lost my sharing now. I will share it again. Just give me an opportunity to get to the right slide because I jumped the slide. And I guess I have to share again. And it would be that one. I added a question to the one I had on Tuesday. Can you see it, Tarek? Is the slide on?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
What are the questions we have to ask about the future of MOT, and then by implicitly also IAMOT, because IAMOT is what binds us together in our association. Is the existing definition still valid in the post-digital era? I think we said no, but we want to hear what you're saying, the members of this session. So that question is still open. It's not to say that we are right in how we think. The second question is, are the suggested extensions of the concept of MOT appropriate? And this is basically the slide that I just talked through. Time, focusing on individuals, on people, not only on the enterprise, moving away from only a strategic outlook and those kind of things. The question that Tarek also addressed just now is if the definition of MOT should be reviewed, who should be doing it? And he's proposing that IAMOT, as the only international representative association of management of technology, should do it. And then the last question I think that we can add to this is think about our own organization as well and say, how should IAMOT enable its members to practice MOT in the new age of disruption? But that may be a second part of our discussion today. That was initially the title that came on. This, and I'm sure there are other questions as well. So the debate and the discussion is as open as you want to make it. Thank you very much, Tarek.
Thank you, Anton. It's a great thought, and I think we should follow up on these things. Nizar, how do you want to run this? Do you want to have people go in groups and debate a little bit and then come back with some ideas and suggestions? I don't think we can come up with a definition, the new definition today. And I guess I would propose that we collect whatever comes from our members and the audience and even the public at large. And maybe next year in the pre-conference workshop or something, take a whole day and put all these things in front of us and then end up with something that we can present to the entire assembly at that time.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tariq. This is a very good starting point for us to prepare redefining the new norm. or the new normal, for instance. So I think right now we are going to split into parallel breakout rooms. Each room will have a number of from 9 to 12 delegates, taking the messages from Anton and your good self, Dr. Tariq, as well as they can put in mind any other suggestions, requirements, thoughts, like the five wives and one husband, which is why, what, when, where, who, and how. We can put all these things together. We will have like 30 minutes, 30 minutes to do this workshop. After the 30 minutes, everybody will come back, and then we will do a presentation. So each team will have a 5 minutes presentation. So I think it will be 20 minutes, not
Not 30 minutes. Yeah, it's just going to have to be 20 minutes.
yeah, 20 minutes. So it will be divided into 3 groups. And then this 20 minutes, then we'll come back with a presentation to start. Or just we are putting the first step through the definition. And during the coming period, we wish we'll be able to do some sort of webinars over the IAMOT website and Facebook to conduct on a monthly basis to keep people engaged and to see all over the global challenges and changes that we need to observe and to tackle, because the future is what we are building now. So we need to be on the top of the whole thing and see how it will work. So I don't want to talk too much. So I'll put you in rooms right now. Okay.
And then in each room, pick up one leader in the room to lead the discussion and maybe give us the views of the participants in the room.
Yes. So we'll be splitting right now into 3 rooms. The average will be 12, 10, 12. It depends. Some people are coming in and out due to the connection. And then pick a group representative. Go for the debate. It has to be like quick, as fast as possible. Okay. And then do your, at the end, do your 5-minute pitch at the end when you come back. So get ready. We are going to split right now into groups. Okay, I think you need to open up your mic and camera to communicate together. Okay, see you in 20 minutes.
How do we go?
Yeah, you will be moving right now.
How?
Yeah. Actually, what I'm proposing is
Dr. Nizar.
Back, guys, to the main room.
Yes, welcome back, Dr. Tariq.
Okay, some of the others are not back yet.
Yeah, yeah. So how was the experience of splitting into rooms and give this quick speed hacking for the
But time was less.
yeah, we need much more time. So I
Yeah,
Anton
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
When I've done this, I've been on the other side, and it's my students that have been doing this. So now I can see the problem they've had.
It's good, but the time was so short, so
Yeah.
that's why I was suggesting that we take much longer time later on the special sessions and do that next year in our meeting.
yeah. So I would like to start. So I make it more challenging. So each team will have 3 minutes presentation, and then followed by 2 minutes Q&A from the two other groups. Okay. So you have to defend your idea. You have to defend your findings. After 3 minutes, I will stop your slide presentation. I will stop your slideshow. Okay, if you couldn't make it in 3 minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
particularly that we have another panel at 3:30.
Yes.
Are we getting something?
Please.
Are we getting something?
Yes, go, Rushita.
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking, are we getting something interesting?
Oh, you're getting something. Virtual award. We can do something like this. Yeah, yeah. And we'll prepare for the next pitching with the investors. So people investing in technology. We can get prominent figures in investment in technology. So next time when we do it. Okay. So who'd like to start?
Group
Who's
one.
the icebreaker?
Okay, we can start here.
Okay.
No,
Paolo. 3 minutes. Are you ready?
well, we don't have any slides to share. I will just.
Nice. So 3 minutes to go, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as I told you in the group, it is a little bit fuzzy what we have done. We have much more chat on the subject than read, but I was the responsible to try to sum it a little bit up for you. Well, the first thing is that the definition of MOT itself, it's not the problem. The idea of understanding management and technology, it's quite okay. The problem, and it is not a problem, in fact, it's only the issue is much more on the concept and then the extent of the concept of technology. It is not only, of course, it is not only digital, as Tarek has exposed before. It's not only attached to the digital world itself. It's much more of that. We have to take in account the fact that technology is applied knowledge. We can understand it in terms of different levels of knowledge, low tech or high tech, so something like that. And of course, technology is also attached to the concept of innovation. So the first thing we have to discuss is the definition of technology. I think this is a major concern, and the stand of this definition. The second thing is that the word, that word technology, not only in terms of the extent of the concept itself, but in terms of the extent of the application. It's not only a matter of an organizational application. We are not only talking about companies. Of course, we are thinking on the individual level, but especially on the higher level, on the societal level. Technology itself it's much more of a broad spectrum than of a something that is attached only specifically to a company. And so the question, having a broader concept of technology, not in terms of its definition, knowledge, digital applications, innovations, and having this higher level of understanding from individual to company and to the society. The question is, what in fact are we managing? It's not only companies. It's not only the technology to understand innovation technology. It is for the society, it is for companies, but it is also for human beings, especially when we are trying to understand technology in the information or, if you want, the post-digital era and so on. I think this is a little bit the sum up of our discussion. Ruchita, if you want to add something, or Anton.
So time, thank you very much. We reached the 3 minutes. You did it actually super fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so we can give applause to team one, okay, for their contribution. And now open the discussion for 2 minutes for the two other groups to critique their ideas. Go ahead. So the two other groups, would you have any concern, questions, critique to Paulo's and the team?
No, they can just give their input.
Huh?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I can speak for my group for a bit. I think the critique would come when we perhaps present our own view and how it differs straight away.
Okay. So no question, no issues. Okay, we can move to the next team. Who would like to be the next?
I can present for.
Okay, Azam. Okay, go ahead. 3 minutes, slideshow.
Go ahead.
I will stop after 3 minutes, Azam. Okay, I'll stop your show after 3 minutes. Go ahead. Time start. You have a problem with your presentation. It couldn't, yes. Put it in slide mode, please. Thank you.
Not there.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's actually where we agreed upon, yes, we need to revisit the definition. It's a multidimensional aspect. However, we come up with a broad definition that everyone can understand it, comprehend it easily, which is it's a maximum utilization of technology for the advancement or the betterment of humankind. And we, as a group, we still proposing having a series of webinars to discuss among the IAMOT broader or extended community, the new definition, and discussing other hot topics that we are facing now. Thank you, and that's it.
Wow. Wow. You did it in a very, it's a less than 1 minute presentation. Okay. Thank you. So next team. So the last but not least, Reno's team.
Yeah, Dave will be our rep. Dave, over to you. Gonna be our spokesman.
3 minutes. Are you ready?
spend his 3
Sorry,
minutes.
I lost a few seconds in trying to unmute. Okay, well, I was delegated to lead this. I started off by just looking at this one slide that I didn't, well, I managed to lose it during yesterday's presentation, just to explain my take on this idea of societal technological ecosystems. And there's a list of things at the bottom there, which really aren't covered at all by the conventional kind of definition of MOT to do with health, leisure, media, food, ecology, sustainability, environment, and so on. So that was our starting point. We discussed the definition of MOT. We had the benefit of Fred Betts, of course, who's been through many iterations of this. Fred pointed out that technology in the past has been driven largely, if not incrementally by crises. Crises traditionally have been political, and so we've had advances in military technology, for example, but we've now moved on to a completely different situation where society is much more important. We had a little bit of an issue, a discussion about the term managing society. By managing, we don't mean controlling society. So we're not saying what China's trying to do in Hong Kong and so on. We need to think about management in a slightly different sense. But we were certainly of the opinion that we needed to move forward in certainly changing the definition and bringing a new perspective onto MOT. And then in the last couple of minutes, we did have a discussion about who should be involved. The idea was probably to start off with IAMOT and use the type of platform that we've got at the moment, to then bring in a wider community, including people like behavioral scientists and so on, which again were mentioned yesterday, in order to include some of the new perspectives. But open microphones for the rest of the group in case there's anything I missed.
Yeah, I just want to add, because on your slides, the natural world and the sustainability is at the bottom. Is that today we in the previous two groups, there is always the aim of the betterment of society, and I think we need to add the betterment of society and the other species or the natural ecosystem, because today there is much of application of technologies exclusively to the natural environment. So be it for the conservation of biodiversity or monitoring some, natural ecosystems. This is an area that you're talking to behavioral scientists. I'm coming from the idea that we should also be talking to ecologists, to biologists, to vets, people who are involved with other massively different areas.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We can now thanks Breno and David and all the team for the medic in 3 minutes. So thank you very much. We give applause for the lovely team. Okay, now we still have like 5 minutes to go prior to the session. Anton, Dr. Khalil, Fred Betts, how do you see things right now after we have mentioned all these type of ideas, and it is about human-centric as well? And of course, Dr. Osman, are you there with us? Leon? Anuja?
Yes, I'm here.
Rushita, okay, Karuna. Okay, so in the last 5 minutes, can you give us some insights? And then we can start thinking of how we will make it in the coming year. We have like almost 1 year from now to come up with some sort of solid or near to be new ideas about the MOT. So how do you see it? Fred, how do you see that? Your microphone is muted, Fred.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Am I on now? I see a consensus emerging that we really need to broaden the definition of management of technology and not emphasize control, but emphasize more technology policy, leadership in technology. And I'd like to add two things. One, it's even more important now, this 21st century, what we're doing than what we started out to do. The world is in crisis in many ways. It's in an energy crisis, it's an environmental crisis, it's in a global crisis, it's in a political crisis, it's a financial crisis. We're not into a slow evolving society in the 20th century, into one crisis after another crisis after another crisis. So what we're talking about is how to deal with technology to solve human problems is even more urgent than it was. Then I'd like to add that we also can be very positive. For every problem in society today, there is a technological solution. And I can go through 10 of them and give you solutions to every one. The energy problem is solvable. Employment problem is solvable, but they all require new technologies to do that. So we can be very positive because we're the one society that actually could have solutions to social problems. And we need to emphasize this positive accent. We're in a difficult century, but it's not a hopeless century.
Thank you. Dr. Osman.
Yes. So my thought is the following. We definitely need a simpler version of the definition that can be accepted by the people on the street. And then we have to think about, in my opinion, a white page, not a paper, but a white page that can actually then include the scope, the functionalities, the attributes, the characteristics, the constraints, and all these things. So, and in order to do that, I like the idea of holding a series of webinars between now and the next IAMOT. And I think then we can actually look into all these aspects of MOT and then bring the findings together, synthesize them, and then present that sort of unified vision or consensus in the next IAMOT 2021.
Okay, I think it's time, Nizar. So
yeah,
let's wrap up.
Okay, so last two things, Anton and Dr. Tariq. Last final comments before we close the session.
Thank you, Nizar. I don't have much more to say. Thank you very much for everybody that contributed their thoughts. There's some interesting, fresh things coming out, and let us follow the suggested route. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think we can get together on a smaller one or two groups and write down a couple of points and then distribute them to the group, and then we can go from there. Anton, if you can work with me on that, and maybe we can get Fred and David and Osman and some, then we can go ahead and get something done.
Thank you, Dr. Tariq. So this time for the photo, group photo. So please open your camera to get the photo of the workshop. It was really quite interesting. We have almost 40 participants from all over the world coming with some very fruitful ideas, thoughts. Fabio as well said he count on me. David as well. Thank you. Get ready. Are all cameras on? Okay, I will take more than one shot. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Smile. Okay. Another shot. Keep smiling. Thank you. Let me see how it does look like. Yes. Perfect. Thank you very much for being with us. I invite you to join our next or last webinar. It will conclude about the digital world application and beyond. We'll be addressing some sort of applications like in education, logistics business, workforce, as well as cybersecurity and energy. So we will move right now, we'll leave this room and then we'll move to the other room in 5 minutes. Okay, it's in the webinar. Thank you very much, and see you within 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you and have a nice time. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.